Hey y'all, so coming back for part 3. So excited to be here with you guys. Wasn't sure if I was going to be able to make this one happen. I'll explain later. I just want to get the ball rolling so that we can get this resin mixed and so forth. So, if you recall, these are the Let's Resin coasters that we did. Yes, they need some touch up on the backs and so forth, but for the sake of everybody getting to enjoy and get to see the resin process, we're just going to move them aside and work with them later. This is the mold we'll use for extra resin. Same thing here, extra resin kind of caps us off. So move them off my tray. Like I said, the biggest thing right now is I want to glove up and get some resin mixed up. So that was the Let's Resin. Today we are going to use a Counterculture DIY artist resin, thin viscosity. Now my B is yellow S color, but it shouldn't matter. It should still mix up clear, still should look great in the final end. So don't be alarmed that it has kind of this yellow tint. That's part B. Now, according to my notes, we did 55 milliliters per one. So I am going to go ahead and pour B and get 55 mLs into a cup uno. Now I put little stickers on the top of these so that I can keep up with which one is which for thin. So that's my thin one. This is part A. A is definitely got clearness to it. It tends to not yellow really, so. Alright, 55, right? Yep, 55. And just a smidge more. Get you to 55. Let's just get down on good level. Yep, both look great. Okay, so putting them in those containers just temporarily, and then we're going to get a big container to pour into. I like being first, and I'm going to stir stick. I have this thing. It's like one of those that you use in your kitchen to put tools. I love this. So that's what I have today. Oh, I grabbed a different stir stick, but that's okay. It don't matter. They will work the same way. So the big thing is when you pour from one to another is just to make sure that we really scrape the cups so that we are getting every last little bit that we can in here. Just because we want to make sure that we're getting even amounts. A is definitely thicker, so that's why I like it to go on top. It's almost like B kind of gives a coating for me, and then we'll mix A fully in. Big thing with resin is you gotta make sure that you've got even parts, or according to your instructions. Some is not. This is a 1-in-1. What you typically see me work with is going to either be the UV resin or 1-in-1 resin. Alright. I think we've got this pretty darn as good as it is going to be. Okay. We'll set those aside for cleaning here in a little bit. So we stirred for 3 minutes, so we're like a little over 4.5 in. So I like to go consistent circles, some going a little bit wider, And getting them thin on the inside, making sure that I'm getting every area, every surface. So sometimes I'll come along and just really focus on getting the edge. Trying to not lift my tool up at this moment, my stir stick from the bottom, just to make sure that we're getting a good consistent pulling from that bottom. And it helps not shift your resin and create a ton of bubbles, which obviously we're going to get bubbles. It's just part of it. But trying to eliminate what we can is important. So, round and round. So the reason I almost didn't get this video recorded to be able to drop it in time for you guys. The other two, the first two part of this series, I had recorded already in prep of being gone for vacation and all that stuff. Well, I was supposed to record last week, but so that I could stay sort of ahead. But, you know, this woman here just decided to have shingles. So that was fun. Came back from vacation, had shingles. I'm like, fantastic. Like, just what I needed. So, kind of knocked me off my feet, and I have not been up and moving. I'm still feeling the fatigue and exhaustion. So, there was a point even a couple days ago, I was like, I don't know if Wednesday I'm going to feel up to it. I'm just going to have to see. And I was like, I got to get this done. I was like, maybe I'm going to do like a mini like 30-second video and say, sorry, I'm not coming on. So I'm getting close to that 3-minute mark. So I wanted to make sure that I got my edges really good. See, there was some sort of dust particle in there. We'll get it out in a minute. So I just want to make sure that I'm scraping my tool, scraping the edges, making sure that we are truly getting this mixed well. And I can tell because look how clear that looks. And now you really don't even see the yellow tint. This cup has some yellow tint to it, so that could be given some, but you know. Alright, so we're going to hit this with a couple taps, pull some of those bubbles up. We're going to get our heat gun, but before I do that, my glove has some resin on it, so we're just going to, a little bit of rubbing alcohol on a paper towel and voila, that on off. Okay, heat gun. And then this has to sit for 5 minutes, so we'll prep our workspace for the next pot. Get things kind of rolling. That's why, you know, we want to get it cruising. So I always turn my heat gun on away from my resin so that if there is any sort of little hairs or dust particles sitting on it, it just blows all those out. I don't want to hit that with a ton. I just want it with a little zap to get those top bubbles up. And then we'll continue to let this set and hopefully get the rest of those bubbles up. Probably at about 13 minutes, we will do those. I just like to make sure that my leveling table is level before we set up on here. This is our tape to help hold one of these down a little bit. I don't know if it really helped us the last time. It's this one that is definitely like poofy. It seems to help some. It definitely is holding that. I might want to do a smidge right there if you would hold it down or grab a little bit. I can get to my tape because I've got my tote that covers our resin. I realized what I did with my perfect size tote. I used it in my daughter's room to put her Barbies in. It's like, it was driving me crazy. Like, what did I do with that? It was the perfect like size, but in the moment that I was organizing my daughter's room, it was also the perfect size for those Barbies. I was like, oh yeah, oopsie. No wonder I couldn't find it in here. Okay, it's not perfect, but I'm gonna roll with it because we rolled with the last ones. Now, I do see some particles in here that we don't particularly want. So, I'm going to grab a little bit of masking tape, which is funny because I swear I had some out on the workspace, but I don't see it. And it's a little difficult with gloves on, but for the sake of not having to take them off and put them back on, I'm going to make this work. But just a little bit of masking tape. You could use, I could have used the double-sided tape. You can use packing tape, scotch tape, anything like that's going to help get little particles up and off of what you're working on. I can't get that tape off my fingers, but we're good. Alright, so I want to do a little gold dusting on our centers. So this is just like one of those makeup brushes. You can buy a whole pack of them. Super, super cheap. And I'm just mainly gonna kind of hit along, oops, this center and these. It's gonna leave some dusting, you know, some little gold dustings, but it's a flower. It's not going to be perfect. Nature's not perfect, so we don't want it to be perfect here either. And basically when the resin goes in, it's going to get that mica to just adhere to it, and it's going to look great. Okay, we're close on our timing, so hurry this one along. And the reason why I want to kind of be watching my time is I want it to be as close to as possible as the same as we did with the other one. Since we are comparing the resins, I don't want it to have some big difference in there, because I want it to have a lot of the same things being relative, or the same. I'm going to try to pick up just a little bit of this mica. Let's see if it will, which it's not really, so, I mean, it picked up some, but I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, so we're at our 5 minutes. So I'm going to bring our resin back over. We definitely got some bubbles that have popped to the surface. So a little bit of heat on them. And that's going to pop those. And then we are going to pour some clear into our molds. I like to go from the center and then maybe get, you know, it's gonna all should pull itself together and be self-leveling, as level as this mold is, which it's not a really level, that mold, just because it's a little curvy. I don't have an exact science for this step, but I do try to get it as evenly as possible across. And I'm going to go ahead and just hit with a little bit more heat, because I know that we've got some good bubbles happening. Plus this will help move this resin around. And that will tell me also how much more I'm going to need in the molds. Now, you do have to be careful with your resin. If you get it too hot, guess what? it's going to cure a lot faster. You might have some curing issues. If you go too much heat, you might catch your resin on fire. Or you might, there's a bubble in here, I can see it, and I want to just get it to the surface. You could catch your mold on fire too. So you just want to be conscientious of that. That's why we don't do too much heat for too long, because we know that, hey, we don't want it to go too crazy. And basically I'm just trying to get a thin layer sort of clear, because that helps with it blooming. We want our flowers to bloom. And if we don't have a good base of clear, there's no resin on the base for it to get that movement that we're wanting for the bloom. So I'm okay with just a little bit of gaps here on the stems, because we're going to start filling it in once we do the color. So I'm going to go ahead, really try to get these, any bubbles in seam navigated out and popped. You can always do a spritz of rubbing alcohol if you wanted. I don't feel like it's necessary here. Now, I do see 2 specks that I said I could see being mixed in my resin. I don't know if they're just dust particles or what they are. Now, this is a silicone brush. I didn't say that earlier when I was pulling that bubble up, but this is a silicone brush, so it shouldn't damage your mold when you're going to pull, like, I don't even know if you can see that little black speck. Could be a piece of glitter, piece of dust, something. But it's not going to hurt your mold. You're not going to scratch your mold using a silicone brush. So that's what I love about them. This fine 0.1, one of my faves. Alright, so those need to set for at least 3 minutes. So about 20 after. We're going to prep our colors because we need to do some coloring. So I'm going to do 2 rubbing alcohol, not rubbing alcohol, alcohol ink, 2 micas, and then we have to do our casting craft, which is the white that gives us that color, or helps with the blooming and definition that comes in. Now we're not going to need as much of the colored ones as we will of the casting craft. So I'm going to try to pour relatively about the same in each cup for our colorants, and then I'll see what that leaves me with, and if I want to add a little more based on what I have for the casting craft, we'll see. Oh yeah, we're gonna have plenty, I do believe, for the casting craft, because that is what is important. We can work with less colorant ones. Just means we do a little bit less of the blooming or running around with the color. And I'm just working to scrape my container, because by golly, we want every last drop of resin that we can absolutely get. One, then you're not wasteful. 2, it makes the cleanup a lot easier. Okay. So I'm a little bit covered, so before I'm like gonna, you know, get too crazy getting these colored worked up, I'm gonna wipe my gloves off. I'm gonna go ahead and hit these with another little blast of heat, because I see some bubbles forming at the top. One thing though is you do want, the reason why we let these set up before we add our colors in, it helps that harden just a little bit. It's not going to be like hard, but it does help that set just a smidge before we are adding our colorings, so that our colorings don't just go willy-nilly every direction. I realized I forgot to get a cake bag for our casting craft in the hustle and bustle to get us here. So this is just a cake decorating bag. You can get a bunch of them, like 100 of them, really cheap. That's what I like to put my casting craft in, to make it easier for piping it on. And I put it in here, so it'll make it really easy for me to fill that once I've mixed it. Okay, so we're going to do this purple, and I'm going to start moving kind of quick because we have let those set for 3 minutes and a little bit longer, so we need to get rolling. I think I did about 4 drops, so I'm going to do the same for this turquoise that I'm doing. And I already pre-shook these before I started the video. Oh, that one might have gotten 6 drops. Well, that's fine. I pre-shook them so that I wouldn't have to go crazy on the video shaking them. I'm just getting some tools for our micas. Okay, so this is a thermal splash. It doesn't give a ton of color, but it's gives a really cool like blue purple look. So I'm just going to plop a big old chunk in there, and then we're going to mix it with this pretty shimmery purple. We're going to just put like a smidge of this in there too. And then for our other one, we're doing this solid purple. I just love how this one works. Now you could mix your colorings in a silicone cup if you wanted to. Be totally fine. However, the alcohol ink will stain, so you want to be aware of that. And it means you have to do some pretty good cleanup, which, you know what, I just don't want to deal with tonight. So we're using paper cups, little Dixie cups. This turned out a little greener than I was expecting, but that's okay. I think once it's in there, it'll be good. And these are just silicone little mixing sticks that I got from Counterculture DIY. Micas. Trick is getting all that powder mixed in. And this one we dumped a lot of powder in. So I'm really just trying to get it mixed. See, so that almost gave us like a blue purpley. I'm not going to worry about switching stir sticks for this because they're going to mix a little bit anyway in the coasters, and it's not going to make that big a difference. I didn't want to do the purple to teal because, you know, 2 different colors on the spectrum. Alright. These are pretty. So I like to rotate my micas to my alcohol inks, just to give that variance and difference. One thing I forgot was our casting craft, our white. I need like 6 drops in here. It is being difficult. I think we got about 6 or 7. And look how that like sinks in there. It's kind of cool looking. But we want to mix that up. And it is getting warm, the resin is, so definitely got to get this rolling. It's always like a unique timing thing. Alright, So basically, if you can recall, on this one, we did more of like a up and down, or no, the white we did the up and down, but we did spiraling with our colors. I think we did spiraling with our colors on both of them. I feel like we did spiraling on one and then up and down on one. That's what we're gonna do. I should have probably watched it. The video again. Should have watched my own video. It's been so long. Alright. So, basically, I'm going to start here. And I'm going to do a spiral. And I like the paper cups because, you know, you can squeeze them and get kind of a funnel going. And I'm just doing a very, very thin line of our purple. And it's trying to come out a little bit thick there, which is fine. Whoops. That one came out a little bit thicker than I wanted it to, but that's okay. We'll go back around this one. The beauty of these is, again, this is, flowers in nature aren't perfect, right? So why would our art need to be perfect? It doesn't need to be. So we can have little hiccups, and it's fine because that's how nature is. And I say that for you guys to hear that, but also for myself to hear that, because I am definitely my own worst critic. Ooh, I really like this purple. Oh, this is pretty. And as you can see, I'm not being like, oh, this has to be 100% this way or that way. Like, just trying to get it in. And it will work out how it's going to work out. Oh yeah, this is getting sticky. So you'll notice when your resin starts to get sticky, that's when you are running out of time. I'm going to do just a few like extra swirls on top with that one. Just felt like that was needed. But it's getting sticky, so definitely need to get these wrapped up so that they can set up. Alright. Moving our white into our baggie. And we're going to have plenty of white. Full shawl. So don't get caught up. I've done this where I've gotten caught up with like, oh, I got to get every last bit, and then I've run out of time because the resin is curing. Alright. So it doesn't perfectly get it to the bottom, but it definitely helps. And I can feel the warmth of that resin on here. So take a little pair of scissors, and I'm just going to trim off just a smidge off on the side here because I don't want it to land in my resin. I'm going to do a little tester just so I know what the flow like is on it. I just didn't want to overwhelm myself with that flow. I'm going to do this one first, and I'm going to just start out kind of small, and go a little bit bigger. I'm not an artist as far as like getting perfect petals, but again, We don't need perfect petals because, as in nature, it's not going to be perfect. And yeah, we're going to swirl this. I'm doing a little bit thicker white than I did the other colors, just to make sure that we get some good blooming effect there. Okay, so those, now you can let them sit here for a second and then we can manipulate the resin. I'm loving this color combo though. I'm going to go ahead and just hit with some heat, but I'm very careful to not get too close or stay in one spot for too long, just because, as you can see, as I'm doing that, it is causing that resin to move, and you could start creating that white to spread out more and create an effect maybe that you didn't want. So I'm going to let them sit, and I'm going to fill this beautiful mold up with our leftover resin really quick before we can't anymore. And I decided to do the blue teal because I just think it's a beautiful color, and I want that to be the next layer, and then we'll have some purple on top, I'm sure. And then we're gonna manipulate those coasters, and you'll see how that really helps them begin to bloom. And it's a super fun process. One nice thing is, once it is getting a little tacky, I feel like I get a lot out because I'm like, oh, you're getting kind of sticky and you stick to me. Of course, no need to save our Dixie cups. I'm not going to worry about them. I'm going to do that. And then we have this white that we still have. So I'm going to just go ahead and swirl in some white. Getting that to give an effect. We still have quite a bit of white, really and truly. So I'm going to get this. Oh yeah, stuck onto my stick. Oh, I'm loving those color combos. Stunning. Sometimes it's the color combos that you maybe least expect, although these I kind of expected to be pretty, but that maybe you wouldn't normally put together. My grandma is a quilter, and she can always put together like these crazy patterns but it somehow just works, and they're just stunningly beautiful. And I'm like, I was asking her this past summer, like, how do you do that? She's like, I just put it up, and if I like the color scheme and the colors together, I just go for it. And I'm like, maybe I gotta stop thinking so hard about it. Like, oh, this color doesn't really go, but you know, maybe that's my problem, is I'm too, oh, it has to be a certain way. You know, don't put browns with blacks kind of thing. You know, and then it comes back into style that, oh, browns and blacks go great together. I just got to get out of my head about it, I think. And I think she doesn't let it get in her head. She just, oh, I like those colors together. We're going to roll with it kind of thing. This is going to work out perfect. We're going to have just the right amount of resin to top this beauty off. And you can see how thick it is getting and sticking to my... It's sticking to my stick so much. Okay. I just like to kind of stack all my little Dixie cups together. All right. Now, what we're going to do with these beauties, we're going to help design them. You can see how they're spreading, which is beautiful, but I like to give them just a little bit extra help. So I like to bring this down to the center, and then I always wipe off my tool when I do that, because I don't want to bring the color from the center up to the top where I'm going. Okay, so I came down there. Oh, this is just absolutely stunning. And it's just kind of bringing those, helping those resins create more of the design that you're wanting. Now, it's still going to move, so don't get too caught up on making it perfect, because you might have what you think is the most perfect setup, and then it's going to finish moving and you're going to be disappointed. So don't want the disappointment. Don't worry about it. So I'm not going to worry about that center too much, because I really didn't push down on it for that part. Again, silicone brush is the way to go. You got to go with your silicone brush so that you're not. And when I'm coming, so here at this end, I'm pushing almost all the way down to the bottom, if not to the bottom. And then as I come to the center, I'm kind of pulling it up. It's not a like super, what do I want to say, exact science by any means, but it's basically like I'm trying to catch those ribbons of color and move them to the center to give that petal definition. Now, I do like to give kind of an outward on them too. So I am going to do that for sure on this one. I'm not going to bring these middle ones all the way to the middle. If you can see, I'm stopping just shy of the middle. So I'm catching some of the color ribbons. Dang, y'all, these are stunning. Like, can I remake that look? Because holy crappity. As I'm doing this, I'm just like in awe of it, the colors and the way it's blooming. So I'm not coming, well, I said I wasn't fully coming to the middle, and then I started coming to the middle because I got so distracted by my awness of it. But it's all good. It's all good. Okay, so then I am going to, on 5 of the things, I'm going to go from the middle, I'm going to pull it all the way to the edge and then up and out. So that gives us another defining look too. And then we'll swirl this middle. These babies are going to get hit with another little bit of heat. And then they are to not be touched for at least 10 to 12 hours. So we will put a cover on them and not look at them till the morning, because you know what? You just gotta leave it alone. Okay, let's swirl our middle here. Let's go out first to then in. It's getting really thick. There we go. And then I'm barely touching it. Now on this one, I'm gonna just do a few like doop de doop. I'm not really worried about the resin mixing with itself or mixing with the colors on this. I'm more just trying to give a unique design maybe. And it's getting real sticky. See how it's getting real stringy? This is when we want to stop playing with it, because now we're going to end up with these stringy things, almost like when you're working with super glue or a hot glue gun, how you get those stringies. So I'm really not going to do much more. I just wanted to bring a little bit of this white maybe over and in. Yeah, like that. Alright, so we're going to hit just with a little bit of heat, because I can see a few bubbles that have popped themselves to the surface, which is good. But again, you gotta be careful, because if you start blasting too much heat, you're going to start making these petals really bloom and merge more, because you're heating that resin up. So it's really key to keep moving, so that you're not in one spot for too long. There is a bubble kind of there, but it may just be a bubble that stays and is part of the beautiful art, because it's not popping. And we can't stay in that spot for as long as we need the heat to be there. It's hard to probably see on the camera, but like I can see all these little micro bubbles going pop, 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 which is kind of cool when you're working with it. And they make that noise too, just so you know. There's a little sound effect going with them. At least in my mind, that's what they are. Oh, I think I got it. I think I got it. I'm a little bummed that I didn't get this mold filled fully, but that's okay. It's not as bad as the last round that we did. And then I can see a little bubble, potentially, trying to be persnickety there. Yeah, I can kind of see down on the sides here where there's like a bubble that's trying to hang on. So I'm just using my silicone brush. If you have something hard, you're going to end up scraping your mold, and then the next thing that you pour into that is going to have that same defect because you damaged your mold. So that is why silicone brushes all the way. Alright, I do have these ones that have like this little knob on them, and sometimes I need that fine tip, but this is a tad sharp, and so if I am going crazy in there, I could scratch my mold easily. We don't want that. So these, like I said, now we don't want to do anything to them because they are just absolutely stunning. I'm going to very carefully bring this closer so that you can see. Look at that. Yes, you can see a couple spots where the resin is not, but those are stunning. Now, if I wasn't filming, I would not have lifted that, because you can again shift it a little bit and make your resin start moving. This one's kind of shifting this way. Maybe want it to come a little bit more this way, so I'm going to hit a little bit of heat on it on this side, just to say, hey, can you keep blooming? Kind of like that one is, the other side is. And giving us some similarity. Okay. Now I am really and truly done manipulating. So, to keep me from messing any further, because we know how we are, I'm going to get where I'll get excited and want to touch them. And that's the worst thing you can do to your resin work, is to start messing with it at this stage. So we're going to take our handy dandy tote that I have, and we are going to cover them for 2 reasons. Okay, here's my 2 reasons. 1, you can have dust fly around and end up in your beautiful creations. 2, if you have cats, such as like myself, they can be curious, and even when you're certain that you like shut everything and put it all away to where the cats can't come in. Yeah. There, let's just say Kitty is fine, but there has been an incident in this household where Kitty got in and walked into the resin while it was curing and had it all in his paws, and it was a hot mess. So, lesson learned. Even if I'm gonna be sure to make sure kitties are out and have the door shut in case somebody comes behind me in the family that we have, you know, kid might come over, open the door, not realize it, so forth. Just smart to do this. Alright, so now cleaning. If you've seen this before, you don't necessarily have to watch, but I always figure maybe you're a first time watcher, or you just like watching my technique, or you like to hang out with me, whatever the reason, you know. I'm going to go through it again. So I went a little bit crazy with my rubbing alcohol, but that's okay because we're going to need it. We have got some super sticky tools that I put underneath our tote, of course, so, you know. Let's just see. And this tote, I'm not worried about getting stuff on. I'm going to try to keep it clean. But if at the end of the day it ends up with a little bit of resin on the bottom, that's going to be fine. Fun and dandy. So just wiping off all my tools. I like to give a good first round of everything and then usually hit them again with another cleaner paper towel just to really do that. Same thing with my cup. Since I have this one and it's getting pretty coated with resin, might as well use it to get the first round of resin out of our silicone cup. If you've watched previous ones of my videos, you will know that you can leave the resin in the silicone cup and then come back the next day and pull the hardened resin out. If that works great for you, have at it. It does not work great for me, so I don't have at it. This is the technique that has worked great for me, so that's the technique I use. But try it. I'm always down for people to try things that, you know, if you see a trick or a tip, or you want to leave a comment with a tip or a trick, it doesn't hurt. Maybe I've tried it, maybe I haven't, and maybe if I haven't, I'll try it, and maybe I'll love it and change how I do things. Who knows? Alright, so you can tell that my gloves have a lot of resin probably on them and are sticking to this silicone cup. So I do make sure that I get my outside. And the more that I'm cleaning, the more that my gloves are going to get cleaned off anyway. And it will just start making this easier. So we do have these two as well. This is what we put A and B in to begin with. And they are pretty sticky, so again, using one that I've already used, a paper towel I've already used, that's not like super covered in resin. You don't want to be spreading resin from one cup to another per se, but, whoop, sorry, I bumped y'all because we're really tight here. But, you know, it works. That's what I'm saying. Silicone is your best friend as far as being able to reuse it. So, more rubbing alcohol. And this one I'm going to start off with cleaning my hands, and then I'm going to clean my tools one more time. The tote is tipping a little bit just because I have it propped to let for airflow underneath. Those beautiful coasters. Now we just kind of keep rolling. These were pretty well cleaned up, so didn't need a ton. This final round, we'll get them nice and good. Oh, I'm so excited for these coasters. They are gonna be stunning. I just know it. It's one of those. Sometimes when I do one, I'm like, oh, I usually always like them, but These ones I can just tell they really bloomed up nicely. Alright, so I think that I have gotten all my tools cleaned up, and ready to roll for the next round. Wipe off my tote. I got a little bit of resin up there. My gloves now are pretty clean, so I'll take them off. If for some reason they rip, they'll get thrown away. If for some reason they don't rip, they'll get used again. That's kind of how I roll. Alright, so next round we will come back, look at what we have. We'll get to unmold our little trinket dish, which will be fun. Won't be able to unmold the coasters just yet because they will need another round on top of it. But we'll get to see how beautiful this side is and maybe kind of flip them and take a peek, you know, through the mold on them. So that will be exciting, and then we'll go from there. And then we'll kind of compare and see what we like. If we like the artist resin or if we like the Let's resin. So I look forward to seeing you guys next time. I'm going to continue to take care of myself and say that the shingles can just go to the curb and be done. Alright? We'll see you guys again soon. Bye.